If you're a B2B founder running paid ads and your landing page is just a headline, some text, and a book a meeting button, you don't have a proper conversion mechanism. And a lack of a proper conversion mechanism is costing you at least 84% of the leads that hit your page. So in this video, I'm going to break down why that gap exists, what it's actually doing to your numbers, and the exact system that we install for our clients to fix it. So if you don't already know me, my name is Dylan Ward. I'm the founder of Margin Maxing. We are a B2B centric advertising firm that specializes in building paid ad funnels exclusively for B2B. So we come in, we build an entire paid ad funnel with a back-end nurture system that digitally simulates the B2B sales process. So you have a consistent stream of conversations with your ICP about next steps rather than just first order questions. So let me just cut to the chase. Okay, so this is probably what your current B2B funnel looks like. So you have ads running to a landing page, and that landing page has a CTA, like book a call, book a meeting, book a demo, something like that, right? Now, the problem with this model is that cold traffic coming from ads, right? People who have no idea who you are, they just clicked on something where they watched a video that's like 30 seconds long, or they clicked on an image. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. They don't know the problems that you actually solve for them unless you explicitly explain it and articulate it in a way that makes sense, right? They don't know why they should care or why they should trust you, right? There's a lot of skepticism when people are coming from ads directly to your landing page. And on top of that, most B2B landing pages are just their home page. So they have some generic headline, they have a little bit of information under that headline, and then they have a book a call button, right? And then under that, they have a bunch of, information, and maybe somewhere down here, there's some like social proof, right? Like testimonials and stuff. But when a prospect lands on your page, they're looking right at this. This section right here is what we call above the fold. Above the fold means the amount of your page that a prospect landing on your page can see before they scroll down, whether they're on desktop or mobile. Historically, about 80% of people who land on your page leave it after they read the hero section, which is another word for the above the fold. So this is the hero, right? So when they land on your page, they're reading your headline, they're reading the subtext, and then they leave. About 84% of them leave, right? Statistically for B2B. So what this means is, unless you have an amazing headline, which I doubt you do because most B2B firms we talk to, this goes back to the cold traffic offer. And most B2B firms do not have a cold traffic offer because I have another video on this, but a cold traffic offer is basically a specific outcome plus a specific time frame plus a risk reversal. So if all of this isn't in your headline, you are not going to convert cold traffic at a good rate, because what your headline probably says is something vague, like we help X businesses improve their, like let's say you are a B2B SaaS that helps businesses with their accounting. So get a financial strategy, something like that, where it's like, it's just, we're not digging into the actual pain points and situations that your prospect is actually dealing with in this moment right now. If you're not specific enough and you're not accurate enough, they're just going to bounce, because the attention span of a cold prospect landing on your page is about 0. If they don't even have enough attention to read the rest of your page, historically and statistically, why would they book a call with you? So the reason that this happens, the reason that most B2B firms deal with this, is because they think that the landing page equals the conversion mechanism. And that's just not the case. If you have someone who knows who you are and they already understand about your firm and they were referred to you, yeah, that might work. But for cold traffic specifically, that does not work. And cold traffic is anyone coming from paid ads. And paid ads are something that you want to crack if you want to scale your firm, because paid ads are pretty much the only way that you're going to systematize lead generation and client acquisition without hiring an entire SDR team to run cold calling and cold emailing for you 24/7. So the reason it doesn't work on cold is because there's 0 context. Like I said earlier, they don't know who you are, they don't know what you offer, they don't know why they should care, right? So unfortunately for the B2B firms that think that the landing page is good enough and all that wall of text that you have on your landing page that people are actually going to read that, unfortunately that's just not true. Now the other common misconception for B2B firms is that they think that their service is too hard to explain, and therefore they resort to explaining it on the sales call. But this is a huge blunder because the data shows that 82% of B2B buyers prefer to make decisions before a call. That's actually 80%. And then 82% have reported that sales teams are unprepared. This means that there is a natural and historical friction when it comes to booking a call because your prospects, your ICP, wants to make quick decisions. They don't want to get on a call unless they have already made at least half of their decision and they think that you're a viable firm to talk to. Another statistic is the average B2B decision maker consumes 13 pieces of content before they make a decision. So all of this means that unless you figure out how to articulate your service in a way that captures attention and also makes sense and is also relatable to someone who doesn't know you, you're missing out on signing deals with most of the buyers that actually land on your page who are qualified but are just going to end up going to someone else because they explained it better than you, or they're going to go off and do their own research and then they're just going to go think about it and they're just going to do nothing. And companies that skip nurture have shown a 63% decrease in conversions. And the final nail in the coffin is the average customer acquisition cost has gone up 40 to 60% in the past 3 years. So what this means basically is that you cannot afford any longer to keep not understanding or not knowing how to have a proper conversion mechanism on your page. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back to cold calling and cold email because paid ads are just not going to profit for you. Let's look at the math real quick. Let's say you're spending $15,000 a month on ads. Let's say you're getting 3,000 clicks at $5 per click. If your landing page converts at 2%, that means you get 60 leads. Of those 60, let's assume 40 actually show up to a call. Let's assume you don't have a back-end nurture, so your close rate is 10%. So that's 4 clients. Well, your client acquisition cost is $37.50 per client. Let's say we have the same $15,000 and 3,000 clicks, but you have a conversion mechanism on your page. Statistically, and every statistic that I show I will put in the description. With the specific conversion mechanism that we use for our B2B clients, there's a quality to what we use that actually causes an 86% increase in conversions. And I'll get into that in a second, but what that means is conservatively, if it shoots from a 2% conversion rate to a 3.5%, that means you have 105 leads instead of 60. Because the conversion mechanism educated your prospect, the show rate increases. So let's say 80 people show up. And because this specific conversion mechanism helps pre-qualify, pre-sell, and pre-educate prospects before they show up to the call, you can expect to see an increase of your close rate. So at a 20% close rate, you'll see 16 new clients instead of 4. And that's from the same amount of ad spend and the same amount of people landing on your page. So CAC drops from $3,700 to $750. So you didn't have to change anything in the ads. You didn't have to change anything in the actual landing page or the copy or the headline or anything. Just having this conversion mechanism can be the only thing that you need to change. So what fills this gap, the conversion mechanism that we recommend and what we use for our clients, is a video sales letter. Most B2B founders, when they think of a video sales letter, they're thinking info products and coaching programs. So basically they're thinking B2C, right? And what that means is overly pitchy, overly emotional, and just overall kind of sleazy, right? Which doesn't work for your business. But for B2B, a video sales letter is completely different. For B2B, it's simply a video that frames, establishes authority, builds trust, handles objections, qualifies the prospect, and gives a clear reason to book. Now, this isn't just a video that you put on your landing page, right? Most B2B firms, if they have a video on their landing page, it's like a 10-minute, well, sometimes it's like a 40-second video that just introduces the company and has some like really vague brand language, which is, you might as well not have a video on your page if you have that. But if you have a full video, you talk about your company for 10 minutes, and then at the very end, you have your CTA, right? Book a call. But that 10 minutes is just basically fluff. If these 10 minutes have no structure, no one is going to reach that CTA at the end. Because historically, only 16% of viewers finish an entire video, and 55% drop off within the first minute. So the first problem, that it's built backwards, where the CTA is at the end, where no one actually finishes the video and they never see it. And the second problem is that because your video is unstructured, you probably have a lot of open loops. Open loops are basically unanswered questions. So what this means is, psychologically, if you're having a conversation with someone and you say something that causes them to question it, like they have a question about why you said that or why they should trust the thing that you said, if they have a question about something and you keep talking, they're not going to hear anything that you say, because their mind is thinking about that thing that they don't understand. And unfortunately, if you don't have a proper structure for your VSL, you're going to unintentionally have a bunch of open loops, because you're going to say something that your prospects are going to question, or you're not going to immediately provide the answer or the context for it, so that they're going to be thinking about that thing, which means that they don't even listen to the rest of the video. So in order to avoid these two problems, let me just go ahead and show you the structure of a proper video sales letter. So the beginning, the intro of your video should identify who this is for, and therefore establish who this isn't for. If your ICP is watching that video, they need to be like, oh, this is for me because you just explained my situation, you just called me out. Basically, you need to immediately identify who you're talking to. Second, you need to establish a real problem. So what this means is you need to articulate your ICP's specific situation in their own words, in their own language, in a way that is relatable and establishes that you know what they're dealing with, and therefore you establish authority on whatever you say next. Because if they know that you know their problem, they're going to be open to hearing the solution to their problem, because at least you understand it. So the next one is challenge the status quo. So first you describe their exact problem and their situation that they're dealing with, and then you want to challenge what they probably think the answer to that is. And you want to use third-party data and evidence that shows that their current approach is structurally broken. So this establishes cognitive dissonance, a gap between what they think is true and what's actually true. So this naturally comes after you establish their problem, because they're actually going to be open to you challenging their beliefs. So the fourth step is to introduce the mechanism. So rather than just stating your offer or your service, you're going to explain exactly why it works. You need to provide logic and reasoning so that the viewer comes to the conclusion themselves that it makes sense. And the fifth part is to prove it. So this is where case studies, social proof come in. You can pack this in with third-party data as well, but you basically want to show as much proof as you can to immediately back up the mechanism that you just introduced. And finally, you want to have a clear next step. So after you establish their problem, explain to them exactly why what they're currently doing or currently believe is not true and isn't working. You introduce the solution, which is your service. You prove it, and now you can finally call to action and tell them to book that call, because now they understand that you know them, you know their problem, and you have a solution to that problem. And now they have a reason to actually talk to you. So as you can see, nowhere in any of these situations or these steps are any pitching, any sort of B2C emotion-based tactics. This is very logic-based, and that's why this works really well for the B2B sales process. So I'm going to leave the full breakdown of everything I covered in this video in the description, including a free document that you can use yourself to implement this into your own B2B funnel. Now, if you'd rather just have us build this out for you, there's a link in the description to book a call as well. Thanks for watching.